Mr. Muhammad Jawad Pracha. He is an inventor of IoT, blockchain, and AI-based technology and global program manager at IBM with an experience of more than 11 years in the technology domain. He is a graduate of Stanford University, PMI certified project manager, and holds MIT certification on IoT. His expertise is in the technical program, project management, solution designing, development, and has been focused on developing strategies for Industry 4.0. During this time, he has worked on more than 70 projects across 97 countries around the world and holds multiple patents and publications. Thank you, Mr. Muhammad Jawad Pracha, for giving us your precious time today. Our second panelist is Ms. Anusha Shaigan. She is a technology lawyer, advocate at Lahore High Court, editor and vice president at Quoting the Law, founding member at Legal Informatics Committee, Lahore High Court, founding member International Human Rights Law Committee, Lahore High Court. She is the organizer of Legal Hackers Lahore and certified legislative drafter. She has worked on various legal political platforms in human rights, international law, gender justice, and legal innovation for over 13 years. She serves as an editor and vice president of Quoting the Law, Pakistan's leading law and justice initiative serving an underserved population through various award-winning digital platforms. Ms. Shaigan has served with various government ministries, judicial bodies, and international organizations in reviewing Pakistan's commitment to treaty obligations. She was also elected to the Governance and Accountability Council of the Global Shapers Community at the World Economic Forum. She is also nominated as a young political leader by the US Department of State. She was appointed as the Honorary Deputy Secretary of State in Indiana during the 2016 US president elections. She has also authored the legislative brief on Pakistan's right to information law for the parliament. She holds an LLM in technology, media and telecommunication law from Queen Mary, UK, and is committed to accountability, human rights advocacy, and sustainable development goals through digitalization. Thank you so much for joining us today. Our third panelist is Ms. Galia Wessler. She is the co-founder and CEO of Plazas Technologies Incorporation, a software development company which is specializing in blockchain type projects for enterprises. Ms. Wessler was a TEDx speaker in 2016. She also founded Go Health, a blockchain-based solution in health to fight current pandemic while getting the economy going again. Today, she continues to deliver inspirational talks around the world about blockchain for business, such as finance, HR, social networks, and the health industries as well. Ms. Wessler was recently featured to be on the cover of Technology Innovators magazine in the US. I welcome the panelists again and thank you for giving us your precious time for this panel discussion. So let us start with the topic, introduction to blockchain, that why blockchain is so important. What has caused or motivated us to, arrange such a panel discussion on blockchain? It is because of its immutability, transparency, efficiency, traceability, and security, and the five verticals that that blockchain will impact the most, including supply chain, finance, healthcare, retail, government. So we will be very happy to gain knowledge from our respectable panelists on these topics. Cryptocurrency is a digital, a virtual currency. And what is cryptocurrency? What is the relationship between cryptocurrency and blockchain? So let us start the discussion with our panelists to get answers to all such questions in our minds. So, Mr. Jawad, my first question is from you about the blockchain. Please update the audience very briefly with the very basic concept of blockchain. What is blockchain?
Okay, can you hear me?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay, thank you. So thank you very much for inviting me here. It's an honor for me to be part of this discussion. Actually, my wife is graduated from GCU, so she was more happy than me being here. So thank you again for being for having me here. So to explain blockchain, I would just give you an example, and I would give you an example of an apple. So you go out to buy an apple in a superstore, and there you find a lot of options that you have. One of the options is it's organic, it's not pesticide, blah blah blah. And while you trust that whatever it's written, but you really want to find out the background of where this apple has come from. So that's where the blockchain comes in. So how blockchain comes into Apple is a farmer goes out to buy a seed. That seed becomes one block, information about where the seed was bought and how much was the price, XYZ. Then the second block would be the location of where that seed is planted. The third block would be what sort of pesticides or non-pesticides, or what sort of things have been provided to that tree to develop that fruit. Next block could be that this apple was picked up on this date from this location. Fifth, sixth, seventh block could be that this apple was put into this basket. This is where it landed into this market. This is where it got from that market to that market. So basically, what it becomes is a sort of history of all of the information for that apple. So this is actually a real case scenario of Walmart, where you have an option of going out to Walmart, doing the QR scan, and you get all of the information on what this fruit that you are buying, where it originated, what sort of material was used in its picking, XYZ. So that's where the blockchain comes in, and that's example that I gave you is a very basic example. Similar examples, similar use cases are used worldwide. You would have heard about the blood diamond in Africa, where the diamond is picked up by these children's, and you would have seen all the details in this movie that came out in the past about this blood diamond. So one of the use case of blockchain is to curb this blood diamond trading. So they have all of these information in blockchain stored, where they keep track of where the diamond originated and where it's being sold. So any buyer would exactly know the entire information, entire journey of that diamond, that apple, that banana, or any sort of product that you're buying. So that's in a nutshell, very high level, what blockchain is and how it works in our daily lives.
Okay, thanks for updating and giving a very basic information about the blockchain. I would like to request you to add some more that what is involved, some coding is involved, or what are the technical things involved while creating this, systems based on blockchain.
So the most important factor here is data gathering. So once you have the data, you obviously blockchain is a open source a platform you can create. So there are a number of websites out there which you can utilize. IBM, Microsoft, other companies are also offering their services. So you pick up one of those things which has computational power, you do the coding, and based on that, you create sort of a ledger for your entire use case. So as I mentioned about the Apple scenario, so you gather the data, somebody feeds in that data, somebody says, okay, this is the date when the seed was planted. Somebody says this is the date when the apple was picked. Somebody would input that this is the date when this was going into that particular market. So this is all the information that is getting stored in that particular block, and because they are all these blocks are all connected, That's why it's blockchain. And the other critical thing about blockchain is that it develops a multi-party. So for example, you are a buyer, that's one party. Then there is a supermarket who is buying this product from somebody, that's another party. There could be a government institutions who are working at the back end to monitor, to control the prices, that could be another party. So this is a multi-party sort of a ledger. Then you have a secure network, because this transaction cannot be edited. This transaction is something that cannot be deleted, or this transaction is something that you cannot change. That's why you have that trust factor into the blockchain, and you basically know that nothing would have changed in its past. No details about where this apple would have generated would have been changed or deleted. So that's where the trust factor comes in.
Okay, I think the basic concept of blockchain is pretty much clear now, and those who don't know from the very start, they might be a bit familiar with it. Ms. Wessler, my next question is from you. You are the CEO of a software development company specialized in blockchain type projects for enterprises. Can you please share with us that how blockchain is, beneficial for the enterprises? If you could share a few projects of yours, to support, please.
Absolutely. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Awesome. Well, very nice to see all of you, and thank you so much for inviting me. It is truly an honor to be part of the guest and the panelists, and thank you very much for your time today.
Please.
So, Plazas Technologies, we are a Canadian-based company, and we've done projects related to blockchain in the past couple of years. But moreover than that, we specialize in enterprise type B2B systems. And with regards to blockchain for business, when I talk about this in different presentations, I like to talk about the benefits, which is how the Prestige panelist has described it right now. And it is, in fact, something that it is so revolutionary. I always describe it like, imagine that right now we are 1996 and the internet is now massively used, and we are basically on the verge of discovering this amazing technology. And with the help of Prestige guests as yourself and governments and organizations and also software developers like us, we can bring the solutions to market and really benefit the user. And one relevant project that I would like to share with you is a project that we've done in about a year and a half, 2 years ago in a couple of universities in Mexico. And they wanted to create a digital coin to be able to control the scholarship funds that are being given to the students, and also the union funds, part of their salary, also in that digital coin, in order to see and to control what the students and what the union workers are spending their funds on. And one of the benefits were that it would be able to be tracked in a blockchain-based type system. It is a multi-participant systems where you have, for example, auditors. So it could be government auditors that can see what are happening with these funds. It's also another participant, which are the universities. Another participant might be some of the service providers that the students might be spending their scholarship money with. For example, Telcel, which is a telecommunication company, a book company. They can also exchange and do barter of services. So if, for example, I'm a software engineer and my specialty is in algorithms and someone else might have a specialty in math, we could exchange math or algorithm classes together, and that way add more to a wallet. So this particular use case was implemented on Hyperledger Fabric, and it was almost like creating a, how would I describe it? Almost creating like a digital coin PayPal transparent system, so that the university who would like to give a scholarship to the students, they know that they're able to give them these funds that are attached to a peso. And with those funds, the students are able to buy books and exchange services and maybe pay for their rent and of course for their school, but they're not spending it on other stuff. So that was a nice way to show the transparency between the different parties and also to allow the students to do barter between themselves. If you guys have any questions so far, please feel free to interrupt.
Yes, that was very informative actually, and thanks for sharing with us, Ms. Wessler. My next question is from Ms. Anusha. As I mentioned in the start, that blockchain is important because of its security. And in your career or experience, have you ever encountered with any such cases where security issues were involved, or if you particularly talk about the blockchain or cryptocurrency, or if you could please share some legal points associated with these things with regard to blockchain technology?
Thank you, Arslan, and thank you to the hosts and organizers for inviting us. Um, can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes. Okay, so video is stuck at my end, so I don't know if it's
It
going
is good
ahead.
here.
Just
It
feel
is
free
good.
to stop me. Right. So as far as the legal aspects of blockchain are concerned, so as lawyers, as technology lawyers, we're concerned with three basic things: the uses of blockchain, its effects, and its governance. So as far as uses are concerned, we have two different kinds of uses. We have transactional uses and we have financial uses. So when we talk about transactional uses, we talk about the exchange or transfer of data or information, as previously mentioned by other panelists. And when we talk about its financial uses, we talk about the creation and exchange of crypto assets, cryptocurrency, money being sent through this network. So these are the two basic uses that blockchain has essentially. Where it is being used, so in my experience, I've seen it being used in a number of issues. It's still a frontier technology, which means that it's not commercialized yet. It's not like being used at a very large scale. But some of the uses that I have come across are um, of course, banking is one of the uses as far as financial aspects are concerned, and Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is more known to people that way. But there are so many other things that it is being used for right now, including the UN is using in its World Food Program in order to send aid to Syrians who have been displaced and gone on to Jordan. So they are being sent aid through blockchain. Now, how that works is, the blockchain creates a digital identity, and very recently we've seen an example of this in COVID passports as well that New York has started. So as far as digital identity is concerned, it means you don't have to carry a paper passport. You don't need to have an ID card in order to open a bank account. Your employer can send you money, or the UN, if it's sending you aid, they can send it to you if you have a token or a key to receive it. And that especially goes for people who are immigrants or who have been displaced and who don't have proper national identification in the countries or in the places that they're in. So that has been very helpful as far as blockchain is concerned. And of course, it has security issues as far as the host governments are concerned. But sometimes the governments feel like it's better to collaborate with the people who are actually doing these kind of things in order to benefit the end user, essentially. So these are some of the uses. And then of course, very recently I saw the use of non-fungible tokens. So tokenization has also been being carried out through blockchain. So it's where art is being traded and things are being sold and traded online. Artists and digital content creators, they're creating digital products, and they hold copyrights to these products, but they can sell them over blockchain to buyers who are interested in acquiring them by paying through blockchain or cryptocurrency. So we've recently seen that use as well. Other than that, there are obviously legal concerns as far as private financial, um, you know, cryptocurrency is concerned. So governments obviously have a concern about how to regulate it or how to govern blockchain. Now, governance is of course an issue when it comes to, a parallel currency that's running in your country. So if you have like paper currency, or very recently we saw that the state bank wants to start a new digital currency of its own that is only to counter um, the uncertainties around cryptocurrency or Bitcoin that may have developed, and obviously a government cannot allow somebody else to deliver these kind of public services without proper regulation. So that's why they have these concerns. So other than that, of course, there are data privacy concerns. Obviously, when we talked about the advantages, it's a pretty confidential and encrypted sort of transaction that takes place over blockchain. However, as Jawad mentioned, you cannot change information once it's out there. So if people have concern about their personal information going there, or any commercial info that should not have been shared, any trade secrets or anything like that, it's very difficult to take them down that way. So privacy concerns go either way. Other than that, there are obviously jurisdiction issues. Like I said, with digital identity, if you create a digital passport, so at least that has some sort of, acceptability in different jurisdictions. And if you create, like if it's a fruit and you're creating a sort of a barcode or a standard or a token that goes with it, obviously e-commerce can have, cross-boundary operability as well. But when it comes to other jurisdiction issues, for example, taxes, now taxes have to be paid locally to local government. So how are we going to, determine what taxes are, applied to a certain transaction? Then, of course, there are many different issues as far as banking is concerned, as far as privacy is concerned, as far as a lot of security, national security issues are concerned. So, if there are follow-up questions, for anything with detail, you can go into that.
Yeah, I have more questions. Obviously, that was actually worth listening, Ms. Anusha. Thanks for updating the audience. It is believed that there is a connection between blockchain and cryptocurrency. And I read it somewhere on the internet that cryptocurrency can be viewed as a financial based blockchain, if I'm not correct. If I'm correct, sorry. Mr. Jawad, I would like to ask you to please explain about this connection. What is the connection between blockchain and cryptocurrency, how they are related to each other?
Okay, so as I gave you the example of Apple, I'm going to come back to that example again. So the example I gave you about Apple, this was a supply chain example, a supply chain use case. Cryptocurrency or Bitcoin or Ethereum or any other out there in the world, they are just a use case of blockchain. Blockchain is the underlying technology behind that, just the way I mentioned how Apple supply chain would work. So just replace Apple with the money here. So what will happen in the cryptocurrency world is, rather than you using a bank account where if I have to send Arsalan some money, then my bank account XYZ or my bank XYZ would deduct 100 rupees or 1000 rupees or whatever from that account, and it will deposit to Arsalan and Arsalan's bank account, whatever. So that's the basic concept how the banks work today. in a cryptocurrency world, it's basically there are no banks involved. So what will happen is, just take a example of me writing on a piece of paper that I transfer Ursulan 100 rupees, and I send that to Ursulan, and in return, Ursulan send me an acknowledgement saying I have received. So this is how it's creating each block, that I'm sending some money, I'm sending some Bitcoins, I'm sending some Ethereums, which is basically information of how much value I have transferred to Ursulan, and I'm sending that in a very secure manner. My information that I'm sending to Ursulan is encrypted via public and private keys. These are using SHA 256 algorithm. I won't go into detail; that is very technical. So that is using encryption behind it, which is through which you won't be able to see what sort of information I'm sending to Ursulan if you don't have the right keys to decrypt that. And each of this information that I'm sending to Ursulan for cryptocurrency, these are creating blocks one by one. And again, the same concept applies, that that's secure, that's non-changeable, that cannot be edited, that cannot be deleted. And this is keeping all of the track record of how much value I have transferred to Ursulan. So bottom line here is that cryptocurrency, just like any other use case, is an application of blockchain, and Bitcoin and Ethereum are just a sort of applications of cryptocurrency.
Jawad sir, I heard you saying Ethereums. Can you please explain what is meant by Ethereums?
So just like Bitcoin, there is Ethereum. This is another company dealing with cryptocurrency. There is a lot of others out there by different names. So Bitcoin is just one of them. Ethereum is another one of them. There are
Okay.
slight change, slight I would say difference between them, but the concept, the underlying technology, the way they work, they all remain the same.
Okay, that's great. Very well explained once again with a very good example, and I thank you for your very beautiful way of explaining. Ladies and gentlemen, we have Vice Chancellor of GCU with us. He just joined. I welcome you, sir. We are very happy to have you with us today. And if you would like to say a few lines, please.
Thank you. I'm very pleased to see that you have top experts talking about some novel ideas of some what usually as a layman we consider e-money, the money that we can use. And for a while, for a long while, we have had our suspicions that this is another spam of some sort that is after our money. You can hear me, Arslan?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay, good, good. But I have only listened briefly, and I have had a chance to look into this from my own angle. I'm an empirical economist, so I need data, I need validation, verifications before I could understand that. But the theory in economics clearly says that for any money to carry any value, for any currency to carry any value, you have to have an economic asset behind it or some sort of economic activity that can be valued. So on those grounds, cryptocurrency, you could say, is certainly doesn't have a fixed asset behind it, like the gold standard, that you don't have billions of gold behind release of cryptocurrency, but certainly you have economic activity, you have value generated through transactions, through efficiency in transactions, and then that generates the idea that this kind of cryptocurrency is real. It's not fictitious. It's not a spam. So I hope I'm not saying things which are totally out of line from what you have been discussing. But I'm glad because the questions raised about this cryptocurrency are genuine. Many people are thinking that they can make lots of money by getting into it. Many people are seriously concerned that other people are losing money from this. So it's a very valuable contribution. And also, let me also appreciate the contribution that IEEE is making. And I'm very glad that IEEE is joining hands with Government College University, with our computer science department, and especially women in electrical engineering, electronics becoming active. And I'm also happy to see that you have top experts lined up to speak. So thank you for honoring me. My apologies that I could not come and join you any sooner. And in 13 minutes, I will have to leave again for another meeting, despite this being a Sunday afternoon in the month of Ramadan. That's the life of a Vice Chancellor. Thank you so much. Absolutely pleased, chuffed that you have organized this webinar. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. I would request you if you could, rejoin us after the meeting you have. So it will be very grateful for us to have you again back in the panel discussion. I would like to continue the discussion with Ms. Wessler. I have heard of some standards in the blockchain. Can you please share about those standards in the blockchain and their importance?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to say thank you so much to all the participants again, and thank you very much for this honor. And for me, Sanusha, I wanted to say great thanks to you because it was really burning desire for me to talk about identity on the blockchain. And the reason why I think it is so important is because we are now on the third or fourth wave of this horrible pandemic. And a lot of us have a major concerns regarding our health, but also there are major concerns regarding our privacy and our security. And one of the great initiatives that the WHO are doing and different governments around the world are doing is to issue these different digital passports. And we've had the pleasure to specialize in identity on the blockchain. And I'd like to give an example, if I may, about the specific term called self-sovereign identity. So if anybody heard of self-sovereign identity, it's the new thing. So if I told you that now we're in 1996 and the internet is now being massively used, it's as if I'm telling you, hey guys, I know how to build websites on the internet, and everybody's going to need a website to present themselves. And today I'm here to tell you that everybody is going to need self-sovereign identity to be able to regain control over their digital identity. And I'll explain about the standard. So when we focus on particular use case such as identity on the blockchain, one of the problems that we're trying to solve is how do we carry our identity, for example, our health identity, with regards to testing that we must do in order to cross borders, vaccination that we will all have to do in order to remain safe and to keep safe all the people that are within our community. And when we carry these type of health identities, we are risking giving those different parts of our information to different parties, and for those different parties to make bad use of our identity, for example, our health identity. And when you talk about the standard of self-sovereign identity, it is so interesting because I'll explain to you how the architecture works, and then we can talk about what does it mean for a vaccination passport to come into play. You have on the one hand an issuer. An issuer is a type of body such as a testing center or a vaccination center that has been approved by the government. On the other hand, you've got me and you, and we're holding our mobile phone, and we are the holder. We are the holder that hold that information that's encrypted and locally stored on our device. And then on the other hand, you have a verifier. A verifier could be, for example, you are now passing the border control when you want to leave to another country, and that verifier can take a look at your certificate. It could be a paper certificate, which is what governments are using right now, such as passport, actual vaccination paper, and also a digital representation of your vaccination or of your testing. And that verifier is going to take a look at your paper-based identity and also can verify your digital type identity. Now, on part of this ecosystem, you also have a verifiable data registry. And that verifiable data registry can actually be used as the blockchain, right? And blockchain, we haven't talked about it too much, and I'm sure Jawad can talk about it in length about the public type blockchain and a private type blockchain, right? So when you have such ecosystem, we have the issuer. So let's say we're now going to get a vaccine or going to get a test. Me as Galia, I'm actually going to get a vaccine in a few days from now. I'm going to come to the vaccination center and I'm going to present my identity, right? I can present my Canadian passport or any other identity that I have so that the vaccination center will know, yes, it's Galia that would like to get a test or a vaccine. Then they're going to issue a credential to me. That credential will be that vaccine certificate or that test certificate. And I'm going to hold that certificate on my phone. It's going to be stored on my phone. I can go ahead and prove these credentials. For example, when I want to cross a border, if I would like to go to an event, hopefully, you know, when the pandemic is over, we will have events again and people will have to prove that they have a certain health status identity. I will flash this app in the form of a QR code. The verifier, so the person standing at the gate can tap the QR code, and maybe it's a gate, NFC enabled gate, that will open the gate to me, and they will know only particular sets of minimization of data about me. So they don't need to know my date of birth, they don't need to know my full name, they don't need to know where I live, all this sensitive information that today, when you go and you have to identify yourself, right, you have to divulge all this information. And with self-sovereign identity, using a minimization data set, you have you have many advantages, but two of them is that you control who do you want to share this information with. And the second thing is that you don't have to provide all of the information, only the necessary information. And then you can decide what is it that you want to engrave on the blockchain so that there's an immutable and forever proof that the holder, the person, went through a certain procedure and they've identified themselves, and now there's forever proof that they're eligible and hold these credentials.
That was very interesting, actually, and thanks for sharing. Miss Anusha, from the past few months, cryptocurrency is being discussed a lot all over the internet and social media as well. To my knowledge, cryptocurrency is for now illegal in Pakistan. Can you please share why it is banned in Pakistan but legal in many other countries, and what are the laws associated with it, and what are the current efforts being done by the public or maybe some of the famous personalities in Pakistan for its legalization? Please.
Right. So, as far as the legal status of cryptocurrency is concerned, so the court has given a judgment in the recent Vakar Zaka case that they have not banned cryptocurrency. It's not illegal. So I think a lot of people use these terms just to sort of, you know, create hype as well. But it's not banned. It's not being regulated. That's a more appropriate term to use, perhaps. So the government is, of course, concerned about its regulation. Like they're not. I mean, the state bank itself is going to start a digital, you know, currency of its own soon. So it's not like they're opposed to the idea. Our government has also started the e-signature initiative. So you can now, get your e-signatures authenticated and registered with the government as well. So they are on the track to, providing digital identity and minimizing a lot of processes in company formation, in digital payments, in digital identity. So they're not opposed to the idea, and they've expressly stated that they haven't banned it. It's not illegal. They just need to find a way to regulate it. And a good way to go about regulating is to maybe create a sandbox. So that's like like an experimental environment where you can test features, and if something goes wrong, you can fix it as well. So the SECP, the organization that's the main regulator for regulating company and corporate processes, so they have different sandboxes for companies, and they try out different things. So I think they're not going to ban it eventually, but they do need to regulate it for all its disadvantages and the negative side effects that it might have. So for example, you mentioned a few people have been they've started these movements and initiatives in order to try to get to popularize the use of cryptocurrency, because obviously if you're a user, it makes sense to have a decentralized currency that's not dependent on banks, and that's not regulated by the government, and you can maybe get more value for it over a certain period of time as well. But you have to look at the other side as well. So for example, I don't know if anybody knows about the environmental impacts that a blockchain technology in general can have. So if you understand what a carbon footprint is, it's like all the resources that you have been using on planet Earth. So you leave a carbon footprint every time you do that. And if you compare the carbon footprint of one blockchain transaction, it's actually equal to 750,000 credit card swipes. So if you swipe a credit card once, it goes through a telecommunication process, it goes through, a banking system in the background, and it approves funds, and then it pays funds to the other bank, and then the whole thing happens and you are able to make a payment. So imagine doing that 750,000 times, and that's the equivalent of one blockchain transaction, the carbon footprint that it has. So a lot of people have been saying that, of course, when you set up all these data crypto mining facilities and setups, and you have all these servers, and you have all this electricity going in, it will obviously prompt the use of renewable technology, for example, because we can't keep using coal for a very long time. Now China is predominantly using coal, and that's how they generate most of their electricity, and that's why they have all these crypto mining operations. But as far as Pakistan is concerned, I think we set up one in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, maybe under hydroelectricity. So we're on the right track. We haven't banned everything outright. So, but a lot of accountability measures will have to be taken in order to make sure that the negative impacts are reduced as much as possible. As far as cryptocurrency otherwise is concerned, it's not like that we have banned and other countries haven't. We're using what some of the countries are calling the wait and see approach. So we want to wait and see how it folds out. So for example, as Zaidi Saab said, for a currency to be operable, it needs to have intrinsic value, and we don't know if Bitcoin necessarily or cryptocurrency in general necessarily has intrinsic value. Its value is only driven by the demand that is created or the hype that is created on the ledger and in the market, and you can't really know who decides these things. So from a regulator's point of view, so this is what the regulators fear. They don't want any fraudulent currency or any money laundering activity going on where they're not able to see what is being done. And secondly, obviously, um, currencies also need to, they need to be a medium of exchange. So as far as blockchain is concerned, or cryptocurrency for that matter, it's of course used as a medium of exchange, so that that can go in its favor. But there are other aspects to what a currency is or should be that is more concerning to the government, and they still want to see whether cryptocurrency falls under those definitions. So they'll eventually come round. But having said that, they really need to look at all the negative aspects that are associated with cryptocurrency in order to minimize the risks, especially to the end users and to the government. I know that private sector and the tech people and businesses, they're very interested in this, but we have to look at it from the citizens and from the regulators and the government's point of view as well.
Thanks, Miss Anusha, for the very important information and updated information, I must say. So I have a few more questions. My next question is from Mr. Jawad. Encryption is one of the components in cryptocurrency. I would like to please share the importance of encryption, or how the encryption is done in the cryptocurrency.
Okay, so in a cryptocurrency environment, because you are doing these transactions, encryption is not only important for cryptocurrency, it is also important for other blockchain applications. So the encryption mechanism remains the same as what we have today. We have these algorithms that encrypt, then decrypt, then encrypt. We have these public-private keys that are used to encrypt and decrypt. We have these algorithms called SHA-256 that's commonly used in cryptocurrency environment today to encrypt the information, to decrypt the information. There are other algorithms as well in the cybersecurity world that are also used. So the encryption is what's been happening for the past several decades in the IT industry, the cybersecurity industry. So nothing has changed in the crypto environment as well. The methodology, the mechanism remains the same. The only change that is coming up in the cryptocurrency environment is this decentralized environment for keeping the money, for keeping the record, for keeping your ledger. So that's the only change that is coming up.
Okay, I have another question for you. How blockchain helps in keeping the records?
So let's go back to that Apple example again. I just keep on going back to that. So in that Apple example, you have somebody who bought a seed, then somebody is planting a tree, somebody is putting the water, somebody is picking up the apple, somebody is putting that in basket, somebody is taking that to markets, somebody is putting that to the supermarket shelf. So there are a lot of people involved in it, right? From the time it's harvested to the time it's put on the shelf, there are multiple stages, maybe 50 of them. So each stage is a record in itself. So each stage is a block in itself. So that block then connected, each block, when somebody is buying the seed, somebody is planting the seed. So these are two blocks. Then somebody putting the water, this is another block. So every time you are doing this activity, you are creating a block. And since in a blockchain environment, these blocks are connected, so you call that a blockchain. And that's how you keep the record. These records cannot be changed, deleted, or edited. That's that's there that can be viewed. There are several stuff that you can do with that record. You can apply AI to it. That's another topic. That you can apply IoT to it. That's another separate discussion. So there are multiple options that you can do, but essentially blockchain is a way to keep the record. So how you keep the record is what blockchain essentially is.
And is there any way to there is any provision to make modifications in the chain if there is any error or something like that?
So if you are making any change, that would mean it will create another block. So basically that original block will keep intact. You will have a similar block where that change will uh, be made. So anybody who is going back to track that information would know that this is the block where the change was made. This is the change that was made. So you can actually track each and everything. So even if there's a typo error or whatever, but blockchain will keep the record in its databases.
So that means the information cannot be deleted from the the whole system, right?
No. Yep, that's true.
Okay. Okay. So I will move to Ms. Wessler again. When you provide the solution or projects to the enterprises based on blockchain, so how does the security of keeping these records is ensured? Please, if you can comment on this.
Yeah, thank you very much for this question. So if we were to go back to the example of self-sovereign identity, with that, there is a philosophical perspective, right? And the philosophical perspective really talks about the opportunity for the user to be able to control and also have the full ownership of their digital identity information. And so when you implement self-sovereign identity or identity on the blockchain, you have security and user control by design. And I'll explain. So if we start with user control, right? If you think about ecosystems such as GDPR, we have a few projects that are happening right now in Europe, and GDPR, the General Data Protection Laws, are extremely enforced here. And so when you think about user control, you give user control with the ability to consent, right? And the networks that are able to participate in this blockchain multi-participant ecosystem, they're able to share only the necessary credentials, and no additional information is being shared. And also, when you share it, you have to know that you're sharing it with a trusted organization. So if I go back to the security and privacy by design, it means that by design, when you architect such systems, I mean, you could say in general that blockchain is very secure and very private, but everything has to do with implementation. And another thing that I would say about implementation, and I'll tell you a little secret, some of the projects that are being implemented today are not completely decentralized. A lot of them are actually centralized and controlled and being initiated by central parties, but they're introducing different decentralization attributes to it. So if you go back to the example, the use case of identity of the blockchain, you first of all have to design it in a certain intent. And the intent with self-sovereign identity is to give the user the control by allowing them to consent. So you would say, okay, I'm the holder and I hold my digital information. For example, it's a really good example for university credentials, right? I may hold a Stanford University degree, right? But the degree right now, the way it's implemented today, is actually only controlled by Stanford. It is not controlled by me. I will get a permission to get a copy of that certificate, right? So if you go back to 1996, where the internet is massively used, actually the internet is the internet of information the way we know it today, is the internet of copy, right? Somebody holds the original and you only hold a copy of it, right? So with self-sovereign identity, the perspective is different. You are now going to hold the original, and you will only ask for the issuer, the organization that have issued these credentials to you, to give you that check mark, right? But essentially, you will be the one who will consent to receive that credentials and then to share it with other parties. So if, for example, I would like to immigrate to another country, I do have to get the issuer of the university to verify that, in fact, I have an engineering degree and a master's degree and so on and so forth. The second thing about security, when you talk about identity on the blockchain, is that today, if you think about the solutions today, you don't really have one simple way of a trusted method to present identity information online, right? You usually use passports that are, it's very, very easy. And even though everything is so accessible today, we have to make tremendous effort to make it difficult for hackers to penetrate. And another good example, right? We're doing some projects in Germany. I can't tell you how many hackers have hacked those testing centers, and you have to divulge all of your information when you go to what they call a Schnelltest, a fast rapid test, or when you go through a PCR test. You have to divulge everything, all the information that you have, and those centralized databases have been hacked, right? So when you go to a solution such as sovereign identity, you actually make it decentralized by design. And when you share the information, you only share the minimum amount of information that would allow you to take a certain action. So with the proper security, right, SSI allows you for the ability to be able to access different services with the same credentials and with accurate verification. So I think when you look at security and privacy, when it's been implemented on blockchain, it really would be wise to implement it in the right way.
Ms. Fessler, you have a vast experience in the field, and I would like to request you to please share some important tips for the students and the professionals if anyone wishes to pursue a career in the field of blockchain.
Yeah, absolutely. When I think about students and I think about in particular engineering, I mean, engineers are very close to my heart because I am an engineer. And also IEEE, thank you so much for this amazing initiative. And also women in engineering, I cannot tell you how important it is to be able to promote women in this field. And also, when I talk to different students and organizations, I always say that technology is the best thing that could ever happen to humanity. And I think that people that study technology and people that then implement technology are the ones, as you can see with this pandemic, are the ones that they have the key to open up so many doors. So if one chooses to become a software engineer or any type of engineer, they can learn different things that would allow them to get a really good job at the end, a job that they can even do remotely if possible, as you can see in the situation today, but also to become an entrepreneur and to become an innovator and to be involved with the government and to be involved with different organizations that will help all the citizens, right, to create a better world. And if I were to be more specific, I would advise the students to take on different courses that has to do with iOS and Android applications. We see now that there's a trend because of the high degree of security and encryption that has to happen, usually on local devices. iOS and Android type applications are very important. Of course, web development is very important when they gather their education. Anything that has to do with architecture and DevOps, because when you implement, for example, private type blockchains, you do have to have a vast knowledge of how does the server's ecosystem work, and you have to experiment, obviously, and also to set up different private nodes. Another thing that I would advise them to do is to take different technical course. I don't know if anything like that is formally available in the university, but anything that has to do with development of DLT type applications. And another thing that I would say is you can start your own projects, and really important, you should shadow experts. So try and get introduced to different companies that are introducing interns into their company, get involved, participate in webinars such as this, and believe that there can only be good for the people when we use blockchain.
Thank you so much, Ms. Wessler. That was actually amazing from your side. And now I would like Mr. Jawad, if you could please share some pro tips from your side for our beautiful audience on blockchain and cryptocurrency both.
The only pro tip that I have is keep on learning. That's the only solution that exists today. So you need to learn, you need to unlearn the previous technologies because the technology keeps on changing, and then you need to relearn the things as you move forward. So that's the most important thing. Obviously, the university time period will end some date, but the learning should not end and does not end there. Technology keeps on changing every day now, every month now. And with regards to blockchain learning, I would suggest that obviously this is one of the key aspect of Industry 4.0 technology. This is technology that is used to keep the records and everything, but you should also explore the parallel technologies like AI, the IoTs, the cloud, and other technologies related to it. So you get the whole context of how important this blockchain is, how important the other technology is, and what sort of a role you can play within this whole paradigm shift that is happening around you. And just to reiterate what I said, the most important thing is that you focus on learning these new technologies. One of the ways, obviously, this seminar that has been conducted, but there are a lot of learning option out there on YouTube's and other platforms.
That was wonderful, amazing. Actually, technology is amazing. Actually, and thanks for sharing. Thanks for giving the tips for the audience. Miss Anusha, would you like to give some advice regarding blockchain and cryptocurrency for our young students and professional? If you know, for the same cause, if they pursue a career in these fields.
Can I just jump in and make a request to Miss Anusha, one other request, because she is a lone wolf in a profession dominated by males in Pakistan. So I would like to also hear about the potential secrets of surviving in such a male-dominated profession as well, if you don't mind.
Yeah, of course. So, as far as legal tech is concerned, I think I mentioned in our previous meeting as well that legal tech has proved to be an area which has actually been better for women in the legal profession. They have been able to make a better mark for themselves, and they've been able to find niche for themselves within legal tech as far as the practice of law generally is concerned. It's because it doesn't require, all the court processes. You don't have to go, seeking justice out in the field. You can, do everything behind a computer as well, or if you have a smartphone. So I think a lot of women have taken advantage of that, and they've really been able to, gain better skills in that. As far as the tech industry generally is concerned, of course, it's very male dominated. Women are not taken very seriously. It's I mean, people have unconscious biases. It's not even like they're trying to do this on purpose or trying to be mean to you. Sometimes women themselves have internalized misogyny towards, not taking another woman seriously if she's an engineer or a lawyer or somebody working in technology. So we all have these kind of biases and internalized notions that we should really work on. As far as advice to students is concerned, of course, don't discriminate. If you see a female person in tech or in engineering or in law, they might actually have something to contribute. So do listen to them. Something that I feel like, I always have a problem working with people from the technical side is that they don't give me enough options. So when I'm trying to make an app for access to justice and we're trying to, actually get something out, there are a lot of communication gaps. So I don't know if anybody studied the quadruple helix model for innovation. It means that the whole society has to come together in order to find an innovative solution. So on one side, we have the lawmakers, policymakers, the lawyers, the executive, the judiciary. On one side, on the other side, we have people from science and technology. Then we have people from academia, the civil society. We have people from the industry, that's the private sector and the businesses. So all of them have to collaborate with each other in order to find an innovative solution. And when I sit down and we're working on an app and I talk to people from the tech side, they don't give me enough options. So just to give you an example, we wanted to make an app which would have allowed victims of abuse the confidentiality to be able to ask questions, and they were just not posting these questions because the forum was all open and public. And we explained that to the person developing our apps many times, but maybe we weren't able to communicate it properly, or maybe he didn't know what was going on, and we really had to tell him what the problem was, and he just said, oh, so maybe we can add an anonymous feature in this app. So that was, and we thought that was like a very big deal, and we might have to pay a lot of money for that, and he might have to do a lot of technical things for that. But it was so easy for them. They just said, because there are all these young tech savvy people, and they said, oh, it's no big deal. We can just add an anonymous feature in this app. So in the same way, a lot of young people who are working on apps and working on these digital technical tools and solutions, you really have to understand what the problem is, and you really have to be able to identify the bottlenecks. Now, I understand that a lot of young people and students, they're all digital natives, and as a millennial, I have transitioned into the digital world. So I maybe I and people my age and people before me may be in a better position to identify the problems. So you really have to listen to them. As Galia said, you can shadow mentors, but you also have to listen to people who have come before you, because they are in the best position to identify the problems, and you are in the best position to identify the solutions that will apply to these old-fashioned problems. So you have to come up with newer solutions. So for example, if you've used the Food Panda app and you know something goes wrong, they immediately send you a discount or a voucher, and that's an automatized process. Unless they don't, and then you have to go through the whole helpline and you have to go through a person and whatever. So that's an automated process. But in the same way, if you use some other app, so I recently used the grocery app, and it didn't deliver my things, and it failed to give me a refund on my credit card, and I had to wait and go after them for at least 2 months in order to be able to get it. And they said, oh, they have to go put a request to the bank, and then the bank has to process it, and then the processing will take time and all that. And what happens in that time is, if 40 to 45 days have passed, then you lose all your legal claims in court as well. You're not able to go to the banking ombudsperson. You're not able to go to the consumer court. So they try to sort of they're playing the system. So you have to understand these things, identify very basic everyday problems, and you can, if you have the technical expertise, you should come up with solutions for them, because you are in a best position to be able to do that. Other than that, if you ever have the opportunity, do visit all these crypto valleys. So there's one in Switzerland. I happened to visit that. It was it's really something. All these new tech companies are registering themselves there because it's closer to all the crypto hubs. If you have a chance to have a look at a blockchain ledger, please do that. It's very underwhelming. It's all code, but at least have a look at it. Recently, I minted an art piece. It's a digital gem or a voice gem on blockchain. So if you're a content creator, maybe you can and you have intellectual property issues and you want to protect your intellectual property, maybe you can sell your content over blockchain when it's more streamlined or more mainstreamed. So you don't necessarily have to work with businesses or on the industry side or on the technical side. You can work in a lot of human rights issues as well, where blockchain is necessary, like I mentioned earlier. You can be a creative person and still be part of it. You can be part of the regulators, you can be part of the academia, um, anything that works. So and good luck with that.
Thank you so much. I must say that I'm pretty much updated with the knowledge shared by our honorable panelists. And let us take some live questions from the audience now. Mr. Ali, if you could help me, please, by taking the questions from the audience.
Okay. If anyone wants to ask any question, just please raise your hands so that I can unmute your mic and then you'll be able to ask questions. Mr. Abu Bakr, your mic is unmuted.
Assalamu alaikum. So I have three questions. The first one is that can you please explain the concept of the smart contracts? Second is what are the NFT tokens? And the third one is that as we were talking about the Ethereum, so as Ethereum is currently using the consensus algorithm of the proof of work, but in the future they are changing it to the proof of stake. So like what do you think that what is the advantage of changing the consensus algorithm from proof of work to proof of stake?
Okay, I would request the panelists, if anyone of you
Okay, I can answer. I can answer the smart contract question because I have 3 patents in the field of smart contracts for blockchains, 3 inventions. So, a smart contract is one of the key applications of blockchain, and because right now you don't have contracts that are based on gathering the value. Either the contracts are very fixed terms or they are negotiated once in a year or so, or they are negotiated upfront. So there is no sort of risk mitigation involved to it. What I mean is that if something occurs between the contract or between the supply of that project, you don't have, let's say, the privilege of changing the terms and conditions of it. On the other hand, through blockchain technology, you can have that privilege. You can come up with some terms and conditions which could be dynamic, which could be changed, and which could be adjusted. So it's making life a lot easier for companies on the both sides, the suppliers and the buyers. So these contracts, smart contracts on the blockchain, to me is one of the key applications and one of the very focused area that people are going in.
I can explain NFT.
Yes, please.
So an NFT or a non-fungible token, it's sort of it's a tokenized version of an asset or a crypto asset that can be traded over blockchain. So for example, I recently got this art piece from a content creator. So basically how that works is this person is a musician and a very famous musician. So he creates beats, right? He creates tunes, beats, and little voice notes or sound clips or sound bites for that matter. And what he does is he turns them into a digital format, and he can sort of I don't know if you've seen sounds being turned into images online, so that's also possible. So maybe they change that voice note or sound note into an image, or into a QR code, or into any other sort of digital format, and they can trade that format over blockchain. And NFTs are basically, they can only be traded online, right? So you can't really pay someone cash in order to be able to get acquire it. It can only be traded. So, for example, one example of this same NFT is as Jawad mentioned earlier, with the diamond industry. What this musician is trying to do is he thinks that the diamond industry is a wasteful industry, of course, because of blood diamonds. But what he wants is he also wants to change the concept of wedding rings and engagement rings and turn them into, QR codes and voice notes that can be scanned, and it'll lead you to your digital gem, which might even be more expensive than a diamond. So, but he says that we need to do away with these wasteful things, and we need to convert all our physical assets, not all of them, but all the relevant physical assets into a digital format, and their art pieces, their digital gems, that can be traded over blockchain. And in the same way, a lot of luxury companies are looking into this as well. Now, the price of these NFTs, they may not have any value at all if you look at it. I own an NFT, and honestly, I don't know what I'm supposed to do with it other than the fact that it's just an image of a voice in my gallery. And it's valued at 1 Ether, but I don't really know what I'm going to do with it. So the value is only driven by the people who actually try to raise demand for it. So that's how the value of NFTs is driven. So I hope it's relatively very new phenomenon, with a lot more case studies and a lot of commercial transactions that will take place through luxury companies and even trainer companies, fashion houses. So a lot, and especially the art world. When you see a lot of commercial transactions happening, maybe you will get a better understanding of how NFTs work.
Thank you. So we have another question from a student. Yes, you may ask question. Your mic is unmuted.
My question was regarding NFTs again. I just wanted to know how we as students can use this technology to benefit us, because I've read most people selling memes as NFTs and other voice notes or musical content. Or if we can do anything creative, can we do NFT marketing to monetarily benefit from it? Thank you.
Okay, yes.
If it's a question for the regulators, I mean, it's only going to happen if you have access to a blockchain network. So as far as regulation and having access is concerned, unless you are able to get to that point where you can sort of upload it and start a blockchain transaction, then obviously it's not going to work. But currently it is not being regulated, so maybe you can try to do it in another country, or perhaps in the same country, because it's not being regulated at the moment. But tomorrow, if the government decides that we want to impose taxes on it, or that we do not allow the use of cryptocurrency to pay for NFTs, then everything kind of falls flat. So you should really think before starting this kind of this line of work. Of course, it's a good idea to be creative. I would suggest not doing it on your own, maybe pair up with someone. And in that case, your intellectual property and your licenses requirements will become more important. So for example, if you're working for someone, they might commission you work, which means that you will not hold copyrights to whatever you create. And if you sell it to someone, then you essentially also give up copyrights to them. So you'll have to cover your legal basis and see where your current regulator in the country stands before you venture into these things.
Okay, so we have another question from Mr. Ahmed Manzoor. You are allowed to unmute your mic. Mr. Ahmed, you may please ask a question.
I know question. I was listening all of you. By the way, I just
Mr. Ahmed, your voice is
allow
interrupted.
me, then I can do that.
Your voice interrupted. I think there is a mic. There is an issue in your mic.
It's no issues. Thank you.
I think we can take a question from another student.
Okay, so do we have another question from participants?
Okay. So I think the question, there are no questions, further questions. So it is very necessary and important to mention that knowledge worth beyond, paper and digital currencies have been shared by our amazing and talented panelists. And I hope that the audience is filled with very relevant, important, and updated information. So I would like to thank all the panelists for sharing such wonderful information with us. Now I would like to request Honorable Syed Ali Reza for giving the closing remarks on behalf of Department of Computer Science.
Thank you very much, Arslan. I'm here to represent Chairperson, Department of Computer Science, Professor Dr. Sayyid Sadza Kazmi is not available here today in this session due to some health issues, and that he may get a speedy recovery. And first of all, I'm thankful on behalf of Professor Dr. Sayyid Sadza Kazmi and on behalf of Department of Computer Science and on my personal behalf to all of the panelists and guests for their insightful discussion into this very particular and very important matter. I'm also very much thankful to IEEE Lahore section for this valuable collaboration, and it was not possible without the tremendous support they provided us. It was indeed a very brainstorming session which opened new horizons of thinking, particularly in terms of cryptocurrencies. These programmable currencies, I must say, are very exciting. It's going to change economies as the panelists said in the discussion, and it is going to change economy with new flexible forms of employment and investments, I'm sure. With programmable currencies, we might be able to decouple the need for large trusted institutions from the architecture of the network, and this might pushes the innovation and money out to the edges where it actually belongs. So I'm also thankful to IEEE GCU student branch, a whole team of IEEE GCU student branch for organizing this wonderful event. And last but not the least, I'm very much thankful to the Vice Chancellor of GCU University, Lahore, for sparing his valuable time and honoring the event as chief guest. He's indeed in another meeting right at this moment, but still he managed to get the time and participated in the event. I'm very much thankful to him. So that's all from me. Over to you, Arslan.
Thank you, Mr. Ali. That was amazing from your side as well, and your team. That was very supportive, and I would like to thank you once again and your team. If Professor Zaidi is with us, I think we can take him on line if he's available. I think he's in the meeting.
He's in another meeting.
Okay, that's fine. So I would like to request honorable guest Professor Dr. Amjad Hussain to give the closing remarks. Sir, please unmute your mic. जी, it is unmute now.
मेरे पास कैमरा तो ऑन हो गया
जी sir, it is good to go. So you have muted again. Please unmute yourself. Yes, you're audible. You're audible, Dr. Amjad.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, ji. Assalamu alaikum to everybody. This was a very good and very nice discussion. I do not want to take too much time. The blockchain and the cryptocurrency is something that also require ciphering, deciphering, and things like these days we listen the money trail things like so using these cryptocurrency and blockchain, you'll see these money trail kind of things can be taken into account. In addition to the guests, which was Miss Gaila, Mr. Jawad, Mr. Ahmad Manzoor, Ms. Anushe, and Honorable Professor Asghar Jadi Saab and Mr. Ali Raza. There are certain other people from IEEE Lahore section, especially in addition to Mr. Aslan Shahid is Ms. Safura Salim, who is working very hard for these seminars, and she has arranged many seminars of this kind during this COVID period. One thing I would say for students that this is something that can be learned. It is not difficult. And the second thing about women, that women are maybe different physically, but not different from the brain or from the mind. So there is a stereotype that women are not good in science or mathematics, but the science has proven that women are as good in mathematics and science as men. So they can do all this cryptocurrency and all this blockchain equal to the men. And I'm glad that Safura Slim is also a woman, and many of our people in the panel, they were also women, and they were talking very well. So from IEEE Lahore section, I'm thankful to all the guests who have joined, and this was actually a very good seminar where as we talk about the success of the seminar, there were 120 plus participants. Normally we see that in many international seminars there are even 30, 40, and in a very high level seminar there may be some 70, 80 participants. So we had some 120 plus participants in this one, so that is a great success from the IEEE Lahore section. So thanks to all the participants. Thank you for listening to me. Okay, bye.
Thank you so much, Dr. Amjad, for your valuable words. We are more than happy to have you with us and your presence. Thank you so much again. Now I would like to ask for help from Mr. Ali Raza again to display the souvenirs. Mr. Ali, are we ready?
Okay, just give me 1 minute before
Sure.
we can share the screens.
Sure. And I think Dr. Zadi is still in the meeting. Otherwise, we would love to have his. We would love to hear him and his valuable words for the audience. But I think he is still busy in the meeting. In the meanwhile, if you have any questions, you can still share with the team. IEEE Lahore section would like to present the souvenirs to very honorable panelist, Mr. Muhammad Jawad Paracha. IEEE While Lahore section would like to present souvenir to very honorable panelist, Miss Anusha Shaigan. So please share the souvenir for Miss Anusha.
Thank you. You can send these over blockchain next time.
Sure, Mr. Ali is just trying to help us. Yes, Mr. Ali, are we good to go? Yes, there it is. So thank you, Miss Anusha, for giving us your precious time. IEEE While Lahore section would like to present a souvenir to very honorable panelist, Miss Galia Wessler. Thank you, Ms. Wessler, for giving us your precious time.
Thank you so much, everyone. Great to see you and meet you.
IEEE While Lahore section would like to present souvenir to the guest of honor, Professor Dr. Amjad Hussain.